Amazon is hiring near you, and it literally pays to start now. Get a sign-on bonus up to $2,000 on top of competitive wages. You'll do important work, learn new skills, and get orders ready as part of a dedicated team. So find a job with benefits that fits your life, full-time or part-time, day or night. And start now to get a sign-on bonus up to $2,000 before they're gone. Let's work together. Visit Amazon.com/sign-on bonus. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
There's a lot of issues that we're covering today. One that we wish we didn't have to cover today is the fact that there potentially is a lot of money on the table here in North Dakota that because of some, Tim's too nice to put it this way, but because of some anti-government people, now they put some of this money at risk. And one of the senators that had been there long enough, understood it, knew the process, told them, look out, this can bite you. Well, it's biting us right now with one piece of legislation that actually became a law. Let's get to State Senator Tim Mathern of Fargo. Senator Mathern, good to have you on News and Views.
Thanks for having me, Joel. Glad to join you.
Explain to people what happened and what's happening.
Well, North Dakota has a process where we just meet every 2 years. Well, in the meantime, things happen that require decisions about spending money. So the process is that the Emergency Commission meets, it makes some recommendations, it goes to the budget section, and the budget section authorized the spending of money. Well, the Attorney General has raised a question as to whether that's an appropriate process, because not all legislators are involved. That means not all citizens from throughout North Dakota take part in the decisions. So a law was passed this last session to put some parameters on that, like so many millions can be spent by the Emergency Commission, so many millions by the budget section, and then you got to go into a special session. Well, that law has caps that are under the amount of federal dollars that are now available from the federal government to spend in North Dakota.
So here we sit. We've got a law in place that doesn't allow us to spend the money that in this time of incentive and post-COVID, the federal government is sending, saying, look, put this money to work. Let's get this economy rocking and rolling. So the only option that we would have then, Tim, if I'm hearing you right, is a special legislative session.
Yes, a legislative session is a possibility, and then continuing to study this by interim committees until we come back for redistricting or next session is a possibility. But even those possibilities are negative for two reasons. One is it doesn't get the money used immediately, and that's what startup money is for. That's what assistance is for our business and our farmers and our workers. That's one of the issues. The other issue is it doesn't get all of the citizens involved. I mean, I happen to be fortunate, my district is fortunate because I'm on the budget section. I am on that committee. However, not every legislator is on that committee. That means many districts, many citizens are not represented. You know, one district might say, hey, we ought to spend that money on roads. Another district might say we ought to spend that money on broadband. Another district might say we ought to spend that money on water. So we don't have all of the citizens at the table, which is fundamentally unfair.
So what's the way to deal with this? What should we be doing, Senator Mathern?
Well, some people say we have to come back anyway for redistricting this fall. That would be like October, November, where we redraw the lines for all the legislative districts. would be an option. I disagree with that option because redistricting is a very volatile, contentious process. It basically means we're going to throw some people out of the legislature and put new people in depending on where the lines are drawn. It's contentious within the Republican Party. It's difficult within the Democrat Party. So you have a session that's fraught with problems. And unfortunately, when you make decisions in that environment, sometimes your decisions are not the best decisions. So that's not a good time to make spending decisions that really should be bipartisan agreements across the state about spending a lot of money. And we're talking a lot of money. We're talking over $1 billion. And so I think we should have the appropriations committees brought in. They should sift through the money. They should sift through the federal government regulations. They should sift through what the citizens say we should spend the money on, and then they should come up with a couple bills, and then we call a full session together, and in 3 days, we make a decision with everybody at the table.
Yeah, it seems to me, watching how Minnesota legislated this past COVID year, that there's all types of ways to do this. You know, as you said, bring the appropriations committees together and make your recommendation like the committees would do, and there are ways for legislators to take part without being in Bismarck. So involving a full session on multi-billion-dollar issues like this, I think is only fair that every district gets a say in that. Tim, whose bill was it? I mean, I always get so frustrated, and I'm sure you do too, when people say the legislature, or, that was nothing but the legislature, as though everybody voted exactly the same way. I've been saying this morning before you came on that Tim Mathern is not an I told you so guy, but you would qualify today easily to be saying I told you so, that this is going to cause trouble. So whose bill was it? Who wanted to do this? Well,
frankly, Joel, I didn't even look at the detail of whose bill it was. 2290. I don't know whose bill it was, but essentially the issue now is how do we solve it? And I voted. I was the only person who voted against it. And now it's a matter of solving it. I think it was a Republican-oriented bill to address constitutional issues. We've been skating a long time on the side of the Constitution. The Constitution says the legislature shall appropriate the money. Well, when we, like this last year, the budget section and emergency commission spent over $1 billion, that's really going outside. And so the law was passed sort of following this great violation, and the attempt was to sort of keep us in line with the Constitution. But it was only an attempt. Basically, Joel, we have rules and processes which were created in the horse and buggy days, still operating that way in some ways. There was a time when most of the legislators were farmers. Most of the legislators were unable to come to Bismarck at other times of the year than the winter. And there was a time we didn't have phones, we didn't have technology. Well, that's all changed. And so we should actually change the process to meet our current needs and use our current technology. And that means making decisions more often.
So is there any fear here, Tim, because this money's being sent to the states to get money moving in the economy? I mean, this isn't money that is supposed to be sitting around for 2 years. Is there any fear that the federal government looks at North Dakota and says, look, I've got all kinds of states that'll put this to work. We're taking it. We're pulling it. We're going to put it in states that do the work. Is there any fear of that?
That's a concern of mine, too, Joel. If I was Congress and the president, and I was spending $1 trillion or more dollars to hype up the economy and to help hurting people, and I found a state that just took money and parked it, set it aside, essentially didn't use it, I think I would question whether or not we should send any more money there. So that's another issue here. It's not just being wasteful of our present opportunity. It's also maybe shutting off other opportunities for other resources. And our businesses need this. Our farmers need this. Our workers need this. Our economy has been saved in many ways in the last decade because of our earnings in energy. However, that's all at risk, and we need to use this money to build our economy back quick and to do things better and different than we have in the past.
Well, there's a lot of leadership that was introduced this bill. You've got Senators Holmberg, who's the one that should be overseeing this, is part of what created the mess. Wardner, Delzer, Delvin, Pollard. Basically, that's all Republicans. That is the leaders in the Republican side of the aisle. So, Tim, you hang in there. Don't let us lose that money, okay?
Okay, I'll get working on it. Thanks for talking with me about it. Bye.
Senator Tim Mathern, ladies and gentlemen, doing the job.